Hey everyone, it's Mickey and welcome to Mickey's Madhouse. Today I wanted to talk about the season finale to True Detective Season 4 Night Country. I to give a quick recap of the season and of this episode. The season started out with scientists in um, a facility called the Salas Research Station. Um, Scientists are going about their day. This is like, I believe, the first day of night in Alaska. It takes place in Ennis, Alaska. That is a real place for anybody wondering. And so the scientists are all going about whatever they're doing. Um, when one of them making a live stream of some kind or a video, um, at the end he was making this sandwich, and at the end of it, one of the guys starts shaking and just, you know, losing it. He turns around and says, "She's awake." I believe that's it. Um, so um, from there, we meet um, Detective Danvers and Navarro, and um, we find out that the company has been mining here. And one of the things I want to say about mining is not only digging into, you know, drilling into solid land. That can be ice as well. It's creating something that's not creating something that is going to cause harm to everything, from not only the planet, the animals, the people, everything. So that's what these guys were doing. They were trying to drill into the ice to find, oh, the fountain of youth, all that stuff. Well, yeah, we we find out about a murder that happened to someone named Annie who protested the mines and what they were doing because they were polluting the water and causing it to turn black. And uh, anybody who knows about that, the earthquakes that have been happening, uh, a lot of that has to do for mining and what it's doing to the ground. I actually, there was a earthquake in Oklahoma at the end of 2016, and I was laying down. It was the morning, so I was gonna get up anyway, but I felt like someone like pushing their finger into my bed, and I figured that could have been my mother or my nephew or something. And I'm like, and I looked up and no one was there. I kept feeling it for a bit, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. Don't normally get that, but then I learned later that there was an earthquake. I'm like, was that it? And um, then I asked my mother about it, and she said I didn't feel anything, and talked to her sister, and her sister's like, no, yeah, I felt something when that happened. So I was like, oh well, you know, um, so feeling that feeling is annoying. Very, I mean, definitely not going through, a big being in the center or even close enough to where you really do feel the earth move. But yeah, those are a little creepy. So, yeah, but the mining, there has uh, caused a lot of problems for the water, and yeah. Um, so we find out more about uh, different characters. Um, we meet um, the Pryors, Hank and Peter, or Pete. I think I said Peter last time. I think it's Pete. That's not Peter or Pete, but they're the Pryors, and they're both cops. So, but you kind of get a feeling that Hank isn't necessarily good, and that's not to give. I don't want to give away spoilers, but there will be some spoilers in this. So I, but you kind of get the feeling Hank isn't really good. There's something off about him. So, and Pete is a good kid trying to, you know, be a good cop and trying to solve, cases. And one of the cases that's it's not connected to the scientist or Annie, but it's a case about a guy named Wheeler who, him and his girlfriend, fiance, wife, I forgot uh, what she was, but they kept getting called to their house, and of course the woman's been beaten up, and she's like, "Oh no, I'm not going to press any charges or anything." They kept being called back. Navarro, Danvers and Navarro, sorry. So they keep being called back, and it's like, you know, it, we there are some things in here that some people are speculating that, at the end, the things that happened in the final episode that was that was Sunday, the 18th of February. So, that's 2023 for anybody who wants exact details. But, so, but I will get to my opinion on that. So, Navarro, we find out in the later episodes that Navarro um, is the one, well, both of them are suspected of shooting Wheeler because and of course they say this because Wheeler didn't seem to be a good person from what it's said in the series. We don't know his backstory or anything going on in his life, and I'm not, people say, that's not an excuse for doing things, but I personally think if like something's wrong with someone's health that's causing them to act in certain ways, get them help, and then, you know, because a lot of the time that can make a person turn into something they're not. And I know with my health that I've had to fight staying who I am and not letting that take control, and it's not easy. And so, we don't know anything about his life besides the fact that he hit, his significant other. And so, we find out that Navarro keeps seeing people. First started with her mom, and then kept continuing, of them pointing at something, either pointing at her or pointing at something. So I thought, and I said this in I think I said this in my theory video, that um, that I think that might be pointing at something behind her to look out for. And not necessarily that, but maybe certain things, certain. One of the things that keeps coming up, and this, I talked about this in my theory video about the oranges, and I said that maybe that meant that the case would be solved. You know, the scientists, all except for two, one of them was, and you know, and I think I talked about this, where some you can freeze, you can be frozen, but not necessarily be dead. That has happened to people. And so one of them ended up being alive because his some of the other cops, when they found the scientist frozen in the snow, um, one of them was, they were messing around and broke off his, not his hand, but like right to, like right there, like right here. So, and he, of course, that happened and he screamed. And now Pete's cousin, I believe, who is a veterinarian but has dealt with a lot of um, big animals that have, you know, frozen, have been found frozen. And he said that the bodies, they were already dead, you know, before they hit the snow. So, now the ending contradicts that, and some things can be explained, some things can't. But, um, with that what they did with the hand and lower arm there ended up waking him up, or I mean, not necessarily all of them were dead if before they, you know, um, froze in the snow, but you know, it seemed the majority of the bodies were. But when that happened to one of them, um, he ended up, he like came to, I guess you can say, and he started screaming. And yeah, I mean, you got to be careful. Just because, oh well, they're frozen, they're dead. No, I mean, if you had, you know, to pick between being frozen and being, you know, on fire, I'd probably pick being frozen, because if you're on fire, you're probably gonna, that's, you know, turn to dust. But if you're frozen, hey, your body's preserved, so you know, not a bad thing. But I'm not saying go get frozen, but anyway. So, but yeah, I think that's what happened to him. That he himself wasn't dead before he hit the snow. Before, well, not hit the snow, before all of them, or majority of them, froze, were frozen. So it's like you got to be careful. There's a famous case, and I will find, it was on, been on a few things, but it was on Unsolved Mysteries, about a lady who was driving home, and she didn't have, I don't know if it was enough gas or something, but um, she wasn't gonna make it to her place. So she she had a friend that lived close by to where she was, and so something, I think something might have happened with her car. So she got out of her car, and I'm like, well, my friend's not far away, so I'll just walk to the house. So right, like, she's in their yard and ends up, you know, falling down and stays there overnight. And somebody found her body later that day. I think it was might have been in the morning or maybe afternoon, but her body, she was frozen, and they were able to bring her back. So you can do that. Again, being frozen or being burnt, I'd rather be frozen. At least my body is going to be preserved, and you know, uh, now the scientist that got the arm and part of his hand and part of his lower arm, um, oh, that was like horrifying. Uh, he did have to have like one of his legs, I forgot where, but amputated, and of course, with his arm and a few of his fingers. So he had frostbite, and yeah, they didn't say if he lived. I don't remember if they said that he lived or if he died. I mean, yeah, you can survive even that, so it's possible, but I don't remember if they said that. But one of the other guys, the guy that was shaking, who he um, he was dating Annie, and with Annie doing the protesting, some people are saying she hid her sorry, relationship with I think it's Clark. Sorry, but yeah. So doing that, some people, because only one of her friends seemed to know about it, because when Danvers and Navarro were going through the photos, they found one that they couldn't have taken because they were like far away. So they're like somebody new, and Navarro, her sister's hair was turquoise. So she saw the uh, hair dye on one of the photos and knew, who did it, because you could see, because Annie had like streaks of the turquoise in her hair, and they were able to denote with some of the photos that one was taken before and one was taken after because the color was fading. Like my purple in my hair is fading, and uh, uh, soon I'm gonna, redo it. But, um, you know, that's one of the things people, permanent hair dye is not very healthy, and um, temporary. I don't like box dyes you buy at the store because to me it's even, well, temporary ones, the box dye at the stores. But it's interesting that the like rainbow colors seem to be healthier for your hair than the normal colors. Like whatever it did. um, so yeah. But they talked to the hairdresser who did Annie's hair and did Navarro's sister's hair, and she said, yeah, she knew about it and that they seemed in love. They really did. Um, and I mean, it's sometimes, and considering the people that were, um, we find out that the Tuttles from season one are the people that are funding all this stuff, and then there's the Silver Sky, like, um, things that's helping to falsify the, you know, um, polluting what the mining is doing to the water. They're able to falsify that, say no, it's not that bad. Yeah, right. Um, so the Tuttles are helping to do all that. So there were lots of hints to season one. This is one of the things I didn't like about it, because you have not only the Tuttles, you have Rose, who um, was dating, I guess, uh, Rust from season one's dad, Travis. So, you know, you have those connections, and it really, it's like, okay, name drop, and you get people's hopes up. I didn't like that, and also I didn't like that this was technically like the female version of season one. It's like, I'm sorry, I know some people might have wanted this, but nobody asked for a female Ghostbusters. I, all the remakes, I'm really getting sick of them. So, I didn't like that about this. But yeah, certain things were different about it. Certain things, the spiral, of course, and I know the spiral can be used for different things, but I do think uh, using the same tropes, hyping things up to where people are thinking, oh, this is connected to this, and then it goes nowhere. And if it would be nice if they paid that off and did something to where, yeah, okay, you know what, this, hey, you know what, yeah, we're gonna bring these characters back because obviously the stuff is connected, and yeah. So that's one of the things I didn't like about this season. But anyway, to recap the series, we go through all these different things. Danvers lost her son and her husband, and she is still grieving from that, or still has some problems from that. So, and she has a stepdaughter. We don't really know. I guess we could figure out that's her stepdaughter because we don't know if that's her daughter, or it could have been, it could have been someone she took in, you know, to help out with, raising her because we don't know, but I guess we can assume um, that's her stepdaughter from her marriage. So, of course, she's involved with the protesting and really into that, and that's making them not get along. And so you have that in there. And of course, her, you know, she is trying to get, he, she wants to know more about her indigenous side, um, instead of, being a, and I think that's important. I'm indigenous myself, so it's, I hate what's happening with cases where there are a lot of women and a lot of people that end up missing, and their cases are not being solved. They're not put up as top priority, and it's like, I don't care who you are, what race you are, religion you are, if you've done drugs, if you know, were a prostitute. I don't care. Everything is important. Now, what we learn in this, and like I said, we don't know if Wheeler had any problems, that caused him to act the way he did, but some things, I'm thinking some of those things were bound to happen, that somebody was going to get sick and tired of Wheeler doing what he was doing. Um, so, Navarro, one of the things with Navarro is she keeps seeing people that have died and certain things, and thinks that, it's her mother was crazy, had, mental health problems, so, and her sister had that, so she's thinking she had that. And my theory, I think I said this in my theory video, um, I do believe that Navarro is psychic, and I do think that towards the end, in the final episode, we do see that because Navarro starts to feel like when they get into the ice caves, and that was beautiful. Now, there are caves that are not, man-made and all that stuff. So, uh, the it's really it was beautiful, and I'd love to be able to go in a real ice cave and just how it's beautiful. But yeah. So and yeah, there are some other things, and I think one of the things I don't like when they're like, oh, there's a reasonable, logical explanation behind something, that's not paranormal, supernatural, whatever. Well, you can't say that. Because, one, there are psychics that help solve cases. Okay? And you can't, there have been a lot of them that have done that and have been successful at it. And you can't say that they're crazy, it's all in their head, oh, it's a lucky guess. Well, a lot of them have a lot of lucky guesses, so, oh, they committed the crime themselves. Like, come on, dude. Seriously, enough. You know, so, but there's that, and there are towns that uh, they're very spiritual. It could either be the culture or, you know, like Gettysburg is said to be very haunted, like the whole place, and Salem. Um, Salem is also said to be a place that has a lot of paranormal activity. New Orleans, one of my favorite places. I'd love to go. I've been there once. Didn't see, didn't really get to see anything, but I'd love to go there and explore and see different things because I love that stuff. I've been a fan of horror my whole life, but um, really into the paranormal, and you know, that's something that I'm not. I'm definitely not going to say certain things are impossible because I've. It's you don't have to go through something to know what's wrong or to know what's real or something, but sometimes it's not sometimes, but you need having an open mind and being able to say, what, there are things out there, and they might seem crazy, they might seem impossible, but they do happen. So, it's best to be open and to not, you know, think that, oh, certain things are not impossible. Yeah, they are. They're, but so there are towns that are like that. Um, so you can't say certain things are there's a reasonable logical explanation for this. Now these days, because it's more out there with the internet being as wide as it is, that these days with you know it is more logical and rational that this stuff does exist. There is proof. There's more evidence of it now, and more people have access to it to say, yeah, well, there are certain things you can fake, but there are other things that you can't. And even if it might seem faked, man, don't. Just because it seems fake doesn't mean it is fake. And sadly, there are some people that will turn something real into something really bad, either through creating something themselves or like based on a true story, like the Amityville horror. The real story of it was that George Lutz was practicing really dark magic. I'm not going to put any, you know, any religion or anything down, any, you know, whatever you believe. As long as it's not hurting people, as long as you're not saying certain people, are crazy or something. I mean, I might not agree with everything. I'm definitely not going to put somebody down for something, even if it's not for me. But I do believe that if you're doing something that is hurting people, like either somebody's, race, sex, you know, what they, certain things that I don't believe in, and when it comes to certain things like basic everyday things, saying that's wrong, saying that's a sin or whatever, that's when to me, you're going over the line. You need help, because I mean, basic everyday things. To say that's wrong, I don't believe in that. I mean, um, but I'm not going to put people down. Just say, well, you're stupid or something. But because, well, no, because we've all been there to where we've been wrong about something, and I've been there. A lot of people have been there. So I'm not going to sit there and do that, because that's not nice. Some people, you know, they could be going through something in their life, or, you know, they're not, sometimes you're young, sometimes you're more vulnerable to certain things. I, there have been things that I regretted believing in, and, uh, you know, and I'm like, well, I understand why you know, I ended up believing that and ended up doing that, you know, and so yeah, but the point is that you can't put down things to say, the logical, rational, dude. And like I said, these days, yeah, because it's more out there now, you can, um, you can cause, uh, not cause, but there can be things that are not like, oh, you could explain this. Like some people were saying, what the reason why Navarro Danvers, even because Danvers started seeing things, and it's because the water polluting and causing people, which not everything has to be said directly. Some things you can, like, okay, well, obviously, but uh, you know, sometimes there is a spiritual side of things. It's not always, you know, oh, that doesn't exist, that's not real, because, hey, you know what? There are a lot of things in life, and, uh, whatever, and it's just, be open, and yeah, So I don't like, you know, ignoring that and pretending and saying, oh, well, we're not going to do that in this series. We're only going to focus on the logical, rational stuff, like whatever. But anyway, so we, have Navarro's sister as well, who keeps having moments to where she has a bad dream or something about about, their mom and certain things. And we find out, now I did want to talk about this because there are some people who said treatment facilities that you um, can check out of and check into. When I was younger, I heard that they did exist, but now I don't know if they still exist. But here's the thing: you had to be in by 9 o'clock that night. So if you weren't, then you were locked out. So I don't know the time when, probably 8 o'clock or something, that they'd unlock the doors, from the night, but there were at least treatment facilities that were like that. Now, how Navarro's sister was able to get out, and considering, I mean, now there was another scientist who, the same thing happened to him and his crew 30 years before, well, no, 30 years ago, that he's the only one that survived. He had a feeling, though, of what was going on, and he was able to at least live, but he wasn't the same since he had problems with his eyes, and uh, yeah, and that can happen too. But he ended up getting addicted to drugs, and um, yeah, that kind of stuff that would mess somebody up. He, now it's possible that he stayed in the facility, but he didn't leave the facility, at least that we know of. He might have stepped outside, but he didn't leave from what we know of. Um, so again, I don't know, depending on the time of day or night, but you know, there. But on those kind of treatment facilities, when I was younger, I did hear that they did have them. But again, if you weren't in by 9 o'clock, you were locked out. So if they still have those today, and I guess it's like a halfway house for um, some people, um, to where it, I don't know, maybe getting sober from being on, from drinking too much or doing drugs, or some people who get out of prison or jail, go to a halfway house that helps them to transition back into the community. So, you know, um, but yeah, I believe even those places would have a time when you have to be in. You couldn't come and leave whenever you liked. You'd probably have to, write down on a sheet your name, where you're going, or what time it is that you're leaving, and there probably is like a check-in time that you have to come in, or else you're locked out, or you know. One of the things I don't like is there you have homeless shelters who will kick you out at a certain time. So, and it's like, okay, but I mean, unless they're somewhere working or looking for work, and you'd have to hope at a homeless shelter that they're helping you with that, or helping you with schooling to be able to find something better to do, or to find something to do with your life. But there are shelters here in Kansas City to where it's like they'll kick you out in the morning. It's like, okay, but then what if that person needs help? It's like you're just gonna kick him out. Well, we fed you and gave you bed. We gave you a shower, hopefully, or toilet. That'd be horrible. No, you don't get to go to a bathroom or anything. What? Um, I'd rather live on the street because at least I go in some place to use the bathroom. I'd hate that. But yeah. Um, that's one of the things I don't like about these homeless shelters. But when I was a kid, my family ended up homeless, and we ended up in the. It's one of the later magazines in 1987. It was a family down and out. That's what the article was called, and um, I was only in one picture. That's the family one. Of course, they put more in me. I mean, they already put two of them in, of my dad. So I mean, you know, I can't have too much greatness in one thing. Yeah, I mean they could have, but you know, you and then there'd be no magazines, and they'd have to print them again and again and again. Okay, well, this is the only thing we're gonna ever print. That makes sense. So, I was able to find that Newsweek, and it's just I don't remember all that time, but um, it. I remember some of it, and it was a very. I was like the baby of the family. I was like probably 8 or 9, or something like that. But yeah, I. One of the things I used to do at night is get up in the middle of the night and then go out of the room and roam around the halls, and the receptionists there were very nice. They're like, "You need to go to bed, sweetie." It's like, of course, I'm a little kid. I'm like, I want to be up. I'm running around the halls and everything. Anyway, but yeah. Um, so, um, but yeah, So on that, I did want to say that I don't know if there are facilities like that besides probably halfway houses and some homeless shelters. If like, because we were in the Salvation Army, and I think one of the reasons why we got into the magazine, I don't know. I still don't know exactly how they heard about us, but I think one of the reasons we got into it because my dad was a Vietnam veteran, and uh, the treatment of Vietnam veterans, going to war. I hate war. I hate the fact that you know, and this country loves to invade other countries and say, "Well, we're saving them." No, you're right. You're creating problems for them, and like, um, forgot. There was a recent one. They were saying there was a civil war in the country, but it wasn't. It was this country going in and invading things, and I can't know. I believe that, considering Vietnam and all the mess with that, uh, and other things. Because I'm one of those people. When your parents, when people tell you not to believe everything you hear, uh, well, to me and really to everybody, I mean, you know, I'm not gonna believe what the government tells me, what people in the government tell me, what mainstream media is gonna tell me. I I will think for myself, and if something doesn't seem right, you know what? Yeah, that's when I'm gonna start, thinking. Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't buy that. So yeah, it's one of the things I got from my dad, and it's like, yeah, that's not right. so so yeah, I've always been one, uh, and as I gotten older, thankfully, being able to finally be me, or I mean, with my health sadly part of me, but you know, fighting to get to the the full me that I've always wanted to be. But you know, it's a real pain in the ass um, to have to go through, really. But as I've gotten older, I've been more of that person where, like, yeah, I'll think for myself and not let even, you know, things that when you're told not to believe everything you hear, you know, I, put that to everything and not only trust, well, CNN said this, or Fox News said this, or, the local news said this, or the government said this, or, I mean, that's one of the things I can never be involved in government and never do that because you don't really have. I mean, it's like being a leader of a company, but you're not the one that has the final say, really. And I, if my rules will be my rules when I own my own company and all that stuff. Those are my rules, so that's what stays. When you're involved in government, you can't really have that final say in things. So, yeah, and I mean, there are good people in government, but I'm just not somebody who would put up with that because I'm like, dude, no, this is wrong, and I am not gonna. Hey, I can make a difference being out of the government rather than being in the government. So that's my thing. But so going through all this stuff, um, we do find out that Pete's dad, Hank, um, isn't good, and he, one of the ladies who uh, runs the Silver Sky, I think it's Silver Sky, yeah, I think it's that. Um, she wants him to get rid of Otis because Otis knows certain things that could obviously put, her in harm's way and could ruin everything they're doing with the mining and all that stuff. So, yeah, so we find out Hank is the one that moved Annie's body. Not to give away spoilers again, but I did, you know, I, I think it's obvious we're talking about the series and certain theories of what I think happened in the final episode and even in the other episodes that, um, you know, I would hope that is a, hey, this is a spoiler video, but, I understand if people don't, so I'm sorry if I spoiled anything, but, he, now he gets in a car, with, the lady, who's helping to run this, Kate, and, she tells him to get rid of Otis. Uh, and he said, I'm not a killer. She's like, well, no. She's like, no one's saying you have to kill him. He's a junkie. So just, get him high. And, like, that's killing somebody. Like, I'm not stupid, dude. No one's saying to kill him. He's a junkie. Get him high. Leave him, do that. You're actually killing somebody. That's would be me killing somebody. No. I'm not stupid. I am not doing that. No. Uh, but of course, because Danvers was made like sheriff, then he wasn't, and Kate's like, well, I can make that happen now, and, so, yeah, um, so he tries to take Otis, who, Danvers gets out because he's like, I'll tell you where the cave is. I'll even take you to it, but I need heroin. She's like, I can't do that, but knowing they need to solve this because, dude, come on, this is, and really figuring out that the scientist's death and Annie's death are connected. It's like, yeah, you know what? we need to solve this. And one of the things that really like makes Danvers like, okay, you know what? I'm not listening to all these people. Like, it's, this case is solved. We came with, like the scientists, there was an avalanche or something, and that's how they ended up. No, you know, instead of going along with that, what she ends up seeing, the bodies of people that have died, babies that have died, because of the water, because of what it's doing to people. And with losing her son and her husband, yeah, that's like, you know what? No. So, yeah, she's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not listening to anybody anymore. Let's solve this. Let's get this done. So, realizing that Otis is really her only real hope of being able to solve this, we she gets heroin for him, takes it out of the evidence locker, and gives him, takes him out of you know, um, the facility that's like a check-in. Like I said, the facilities to where, at least when I was younger, that you could, you know, check in and check out whenever you want, but at 9 o'clock you had to be in, or you were locked out. Now, uh, she, she takes him. It's like, I got what you want, and of course they get in the car, and he's like, give it to me. And she's like, you're not doing this in my car. Like, really, wait till we get to my place, and then I'll give you, all the stuff, and you can do it. She does that, and he goes into the bathroom, and of course that's when Hank comes in, and then Pete, him and his wife were having problems, and because the case and everything, and she kicks him out, and he wants to go stay. Well, he thinks the only place he could go stay is at his dad's, but with all the stuff, figuring out that his dad knows about all the stuff going on. Yeah, Danvers is like, no. And Pete is a good cop, but he, like I said, with the Wheeler case, somebody might have eventually done something to him. So, in the case of covering it up, it's almost like if you've seen the series of Chicago PD, Hank Voight, um, his character, he is the one who will take justice into his own hands when the justice system fails to do so. But he doesn't want anyone else doing that. That is a no, I will take care of this. That's him. So there's, I understand that, and sadly the law, people can get off on crimes, and I mean, like, you do pot and you get like life in prison. You kill somebody, rape somebody or something, and yeah, you're going to get like a few years or a few months. It's like, seriously? Really? And I don't believe pot is wrong. Anything, you could be addicted to anything, even the most innocent of things. But again, um, I do believe pot has a lot of good properties. And I mean, hey, penicillin is mold, okay? And I'm allergic to penicillin. Yeah. Uh, so, I mean, I guess it's like, well, it's a plant. Pot is a plant. Mold is something very bad. And yes, you can take good things out of bad things and use it. But, you know, uh, it's well, and if you want to if you want to say this, with pot, there's the THC and CBD. Um, and hey, if you know any good ones, leave a comment below. Send some money to my PayPal to help out. Uh, if it's on Amazon, you could tell me, and I could post it in my Amazon link, and then you could get it for me. Or on my my Twitter X, you could send it there too. But I would love to be able to have some of that, and that could help my health get better. And again, if you can donate, you know, to my PayPal to help out with my health, to help it get better, please do. And if you know anything, you know, that could help with, you know, getting your hormones better, getting your gut better, getting adrenals, thyroid, cyst, everything, you know. Really, nothing is off limits, sadly, with my health. But yeah, you know, post that below. Hey, donate to help out. You know, if there's something on Amazon that you could get for me that, or even, you know, tell me, you know, I could add it to my list. But yeah, if you could get that for me, you know, and say, hey, add this to your list and I can get this for you, you know, great. But, yeah, you know, that's below, so yeah. Um, but, you know, personally, you know, to me, you know, pot isn't bad, but like I said, anything, even the most innocent of things, can be bad if you're addicted. So, um, uh, we end up, we find out Hank isn't good, and Pete, from being kicked out, Danvers is like, you know, come stay at my place because he's doing a lot of digging on the Wheeler case, and you know, and this is something, of course, it's not the questions you ask, it's asking the right ones, you know, like saying, well, who did this? Well, do more, think more in depth, you know. And so you know, he's doing this for Danvers because Danvers finds out he's been looking up the case on Wheeler. And so figuring out that Hank was, you know, has been spying on them, is not to be trusted. She said, I have a shed in, you know, in the back of my house. You can stay there. So, yeah, Hank ends up, you know, going over to Danvers and said, yeah, they said I need to take Otis in. And she's like, how do you know Otis is here? It's like, oh, was Otis here? Like, really? Why are you coming here and saying that to me? Go pick him up. Like, you know, go to the lighthouse to pick him up. No. So, anyway, Otis comes out after hearing, you know, them fighting, and Hank ends up killing him, and then Pete comes in hearing the noise and shoots his dad after realizing, you know what, he's not good and he's gonna end up screwing everything up. So, yeah, um, people were thinking that Rose was dead and that uh, Navarro was seeing things, but no, Rose is real, because she says in the second episode, Liz, you know, Danvers says, yeah, Rose said, you know, the bodies were over there. Well, there's that, and then of course with this last episode, um, well, second to last episode, you know, kind of interesting, you know, the second episode and the fifth episode. So, uh, so yeah, she tells, you know, clean this up, and because he's like, I'll clean it up, and because, like, yeah, Denver's, you know, Navarre's like, yeah, because, you know, we are right there at solving this case, and, you know, they know where to go now, everything, they are right there, so they have to do this. And Pete, you know, Navarre's like, clean this up good, you know, and take them to Rose and tell them to take, you know, them to where her sister's at. She cremated her sister and put her ashes in the water because she wanted to be at the, you know, at the beach and with the water. So, um, so, and then of course, you know, this final episode, yeah, Rose is real, and there's a storm that starts in the fifth episode, and a storm could be, well, in this case, with it being the snow, being a blizzard. I love the sound of blizzard. I love the sound of rain. I love the sound of a blizzard even more, with the wind going and howling, and oh, to me that's so relaxing. But a storm could be something bad coming, but it could also be something to wash away all the bad stuff, clean up the mess. And of course, with the symbolism of the snow being white and white being a color of purity, that the snow could be a sign that that's what's, all this is, things are about to be cleared, things are about to be solved, things are about to be put in place. So that's what we see end up happening, and um, uh, sorry. Um, so, uh, yeah, they end up going. They get to the ice cave, and they have to break in through the snow. And I'm like, this is connected right to the research center. And yeah, yeah, they find stairs that go up, and it's like I knew it. So, and of course, when they get down there, they see Annie's boyfriend. I think it's, sorry, my memory, but I think it's Clark. And yeah, they as soon as they get down there, they see him, and of course he runs away and goes into the facility there. And of course, when they get into the room, there are some questions about how the video that Annie made, and then how she died, the room she died in. So that's a little, certain things of the events that we hear about how you know, Annie died, well, how the researchers, were attacked, that certain things don't really add up from what we're told. It does seem, not to give away spoilers, but the women in the town figured out, what was going on, and one of the things, the weapons, because there's star-shaped holes in Annie. So they find, like, it's kind of like one of those, like when you get like a chair or a desk, and you have they give you that little screw thing that, like, in the shape of an octagon or something. It's kind of like that. So so yeah, that's where they find this is the weapon. And so we find out some of the women in the community are the ones that we're told, but certain things don't really make sense with that. So now Navarro does find out her indigenous name, which does connect to the oranges, because I was saying the oranges could mean, the case would be solved when the sun comes up. Um, well, in a sense, because her indigenous name is, means light, in a sense, like the light coming up. Um, so with that, yeah, um, the oranges, were kind of meant to let her know her name. And I want to say this, that, and I know other people were seeing things, were seeing visions of certain things. And this town, some indigenous people are very spiritual. So um, I do think that this town is like a vortex for the paranormal, supernatural. So I think Navarro is psychic, and I think that's why she saw the things she did. It wasn't, you know, the water wasn't, and I do think maybe the water caused some things, but again, and I think I said this in my theory video to where certain things might, if it's evil, then it can disguise itself to make it seem like you're crazy by saying, "Oh, it's the water. It's because the water was polluted, so that's why they were saying things. They're crazy." Well, it could use that to cover for, it continuing to do its things. But there are certain things that cannot be explained by saying, it's a mass they're hallucinating. It's a mass hallucination. No, because there are certain things again you just can't do that with. And yeah, but I do think Navarro is psychic, and I think her mother was psychic. And being psychic is not like this easy. Oh, you know everything. Not every psychic is the same. I do think to perfect your gift and even grow it to where you can do more things with it, you do need to take care of it, because your spiritual health really should be number one, because when that's screwed up, everything will be screwed up. So, yeah, taking care of that's number one, and I think that's what happened to Navarro's mom and even her sister, that they're psychic, and that drove them insane. And it can, it's not, being psychic isn't the easiest thing to be. I mean, especially turning it off, and like, oh man. So yeah, um, and I think in this last episode, it does show that, in trusting how she found out what her indigenous name is, was able to, when she went out into the snow, um, that's when she found out, and then she came back and like realized, okay. And this is the very end, but I don't really want to give that part away, but Navarro does end up leaving. And the thing, and yeah, people can say, well, because even with the scientist, their clothes were taken off, and they were folded. And when Navarro's sister dies, she takes off her clothes and just walks into the snow. So she left the bear that Danvers had for her son, because Danvers threw it out of the door because she was like sick and tired of hearing the paranormal, supernatural stuff. She was sick and tired of hearing it because the trauma of losing her son and her husband. So, and when Navarro was trying to tell her that she saw her son in that said, help my mommy. And of course, that's something that Navarro stuck to her guns in trying to help solve this case, because it was going to help Navarro too, or it's going to help Danvers too. So, and of course, when Danvers goes into the water, Navarro helps to bring her up from it. So in that sense as well, help my mommy. That's what, again, saving her and helping her to not, let what happened to her son and her husband, continue to eat her alive and to cause her this pain. And it does, and it helps repair things with her daughter. And so, but she leaves the bear, she leaves the phone where she got Clark to admit to what they were doing with the mining and stuff. So, but she left because her lover, she took his SpongeBob toothbrush, and so she leaves that with him. So you can say, in a sense, like leaving her clothes, leaving things behind. But I don't believe Navarro was dead. I do believe she wanted to go out and see things, and wanted to explore, wanted to, so I think, she walked out into the snow, She was fully clothed. I think she wanted to explore. She wanted to see things. You know, not only do one thing, and maybe explore herself some more. Because now that she knows her indigenous name, she can, wants to learn more. So she wants to explore, and so I don't believe that Navarro's dead, because even at the very end, where Danvers and her daughter, they're like going somewhere, um, and they end up going to this like uh, little, this little house, and like at the end, Danvers is sitting on a chair. Then you see Navarro come in. Um, I don't believe Navarro's dead. I believe that's Navarro's new house, or at least one she's staying at, and yeah, you know, I think she's finally she understands certain things now. Her indigenous name, that she is psychic and she does know certain things, and I think that's really good that she's able to do that, and even able to start to take care of herself, and really be able to be herself, because that's important. Like I said, with me, with anybody who has health problems, that can try to change who you are as a person, and with anything in life, if anything that tries to take you away from being who you are, if you're not doing anything wrong, then, because like I said, certain people that think everything's a sin, or like everyday things. If you can't do everyday things without saying it's a sin and it's wrong, you know what? No. So I think that's what uh, Navarro is finally like. You know what? Just being able to be herself, and being able to explore, get to know herself more, get to do different things and experience different things. That's always important, to learn and to grow. I love learning. That's one of my favorite things. So, and Danvers now is not is more open to the paranormal and supernatural, and uh, we don't really, well, we see Pete with his son. It did seem that, because like when he's telling his wife, hey, this is the last thing I have to do, and then I'll be with you. I won't be gone all the time. I'm sorry. And of course they make up. So he's laying there with his son, and we don't really see. But I think with Hank, because like I said, not everything has to be said straight out to you. Like this is it. But I think he understood with his dad, what with that happening, that certain things are better left. The narrative of Wheeler killing himself, and killing his girlfriend, wife, you know, fiance, you know. So, you know, I think he's understanding there are certain things that are better left where they are. And certain things with this don't line up with what the women said of how things happened when the researchers were attacked by them. I do not. I think some of the things, and I think the tongue, because even when the lady says that's not what we did, but she smirked. So now that doesn't. I don't think they did any DNA to find out that that was Annie's tongue. Maybe it was left there as like something to let them know this is connected to Annie. You know, but some of the things they said about how it happened, I don't agree with, because, and yeah, they're people and not animals, but with Pete's cousin saying, they died before they, you know, were frozen. So, you know, maybe some of what they said was true, maybe some of what they said wasn't. But and now the thing with the Sonata and you know they said the same thing they did to her, the same thing they did to her mother. I think some people are like, well, the mother could be Mother Nature, and yeah, but I think it's also because the scientists from Otis's camp, the miners, I think kind of the same thing happened with them, but not completely identical. I think certain things, once you become aware of it and you really start to think about it, you're like, you know what, this doesn't make sense, or this is weird. I think you can be able to fight back. I'm not going to say everything's going to be easy to fight it, but I think certain things, instead of the exact same events similar to it could happen. So I think they might have killed those miners might have killed Annie's mother, and that's why we hear about those similar events with Otis's crew. So yeah, again, one of the things I didn't like about this season, because I really, considering all the connections to season one, and I understand with it being anthology in which each episode or each season can be different, but I think teasing that, I think doing that, and even like this is the female version of the first season. You know, I don't like that. I don't agree with that because it's like, dude, we don't need that. Come on. I think it would have been cool if Rust and Marty set up an investigation, their own private investigation firm where they not only investigate more of what the titles are doing and have done, but other cults and other crimes, and being able to have more leeway on how they do things as opposed to when they're cops and they have to lie. I mean, you know, having a team where they don't have to lie, they can be honest with one another. I think it would have been cool if they set up, other firms and other places where either they have other people that are dealing with the total cult, with the Yellow King, and you know, or with other cults or other things, that people they can entrust that will follow what they're doing to help shut down cults and help bring justice to the victims and be able to stop this, because yeah, a lot of this stuff is, I mean, what happened in the first season, horrible. So I think it would have been cool if they set up a camp with Navarro and Danvers in Alaska to help with those crimes there. And again, I now we did never saw Navarro talk with Rose about what was going on, who was involved with certain things. It's possible, even if she was someone who's more of an observer and not somebody who always goes out into town and does things, she might go grocery shopping or stuff, but, not necessarily someone who's always out and about and doing things. So, but again, that doesn't mean she would know anything, and, you know, with knowing Rustin probably talking about the Tuttles, and even if he didn't with her, could have with his dad, and his dad could have told her. And I was hoping that maybe Pete would have said something in this last episode. She would have been like, "What? The Tuttles? I know about them. Travis's son, dealt with them in New Orleans. Like, what? And could have called them. I think that would have been great. The final scene of the last episode, she calls them, and it'd be great if Marty picked up, because, you know, and then Marty, with through Russ could have, Russ could have told him about Rose and about certain things, So could have picked up the phone and maybe saw her number or something, knew it was her. But she'd be like, "Hey, I need you guys," and they're like, "We'll be there." You know, I think that would have been perfect, and then that could have gone into next season. Because, again, I mean, it's one of the things I don't like teasing people constantly, or even bringing it up once, because they even brought up a line that Russ says that time is a flat circle. It's like you do all that stuff and then you don't pay it off. And making your own version of the first season, don't do that. Because then you're gonna just make a lot of people mad and they're not gonna watch anymore. And I hate that, but you know that will happen. Even with American Horror Story, even though they are all connected, you know, all the seasons, still some people are like, you know what, I'm sick and tired of this, you know. And I understand that because sometimes it can be annoying to deal with that. So, you know, that's one of the things I didn't like. And we didn't need a female version of the first season. Like, just make a good season. I mean, I couldn't, I couldn't watch the second season or third season because it's like you have those characters that are so good in the first season, and considering they only took down one like Tuttle. They didn't take down them all. Like Marty says, you have to take a win when you can. And like, yeah, I mean, but it would have been nice to see them continue to take not only Tuttles but other calls and other things that are wrong, and that sadly the cops are not doing enough or not doing the right things to solve it. And again, I'm not saying that, you know, doing certain things, I understand it, but it's kind of like I said with Hank Voight and Chicago PD. When the law, you know, the justice system fails, taking matters into your own hands, I understand it, but, you know, so yeah, that's what I didn't like about this season because unless they plan on doing something in the future, bringing all the seasons together, or I heard that the spiral was in the third season, but it's like if you're going to do this and tease people and not pay it off, just stop because you're wasting your time. And I understand people are going to watch anyway because they're curious or whatever. See that after a while, people are going to get sick of it. You know, it's like a series can go on for a long time, or even, you know, like American Horror Story. I still like American Horror Story, but you know, certain things could go on for so long to where it's like, okay, you know what, we have to stop this. Uh, so you know, I know that's something that with the FNAF series, and I love FNAF. Um, I will make a theory video on that. Uh, if I can't make an in-depth one, maybe um, I could do a shorter one to where at least I could start with that. But you know, I want to be able to talk about it. But you know, there are some people who are like, we need definitive answers to certain things, and they're not getting it that. And I understand the lore and everything, and of course, every time I think of lore, I think of Matt Pat, and I know he's semi-retiring, not completely leaving all the theorist channels, but he, you know, and that's one thing that if you're always taking on the stuff on your own, that can be frustrating, and so it's good to have other people. I'd love to be able to do this here, have other people besides me. Um, that would be a complete madhouse. So, yeah, I'd love to be able to have different things on here hosted by different people, in you know involving different people, and not only being me because that would be boring. But you know, of course, even if you love what you do, sometimes it's nice to step back and do different things. I you know, I'm a kid in a candy store. I want to do everything. So, I believe we all have a lot of different gifts, and it's good to explore those and not only focus on one thing. And I'm not saying it's easy for everybody to do that because it's not. And yes, there are 24 usable hours in every day. But I'm not going to say it's easy for everybody because sadly I've had to struggle. I've had to fight, like with my health, getting the right help, and I'm on that path now. And again, if you can, donate to my PayPal below to help me out, to, help me get better help, not the online therapy site. Anyway, but, also my Amazon link, and if you know anything that I could add to the Amazon link that you could get from me, let me know. And of course, if there's anything else that you could donate money to, say, if it's not on Amazon, if it's somewhere else, say, yeah, try this. This could help you. So yeah, do that. But, and also help with me improving my set and getting better things because I would like to improve and expand and grow. Um, so yeah. Hey, you know what? And of course my TwitX is below as well. You could find that. I'll post the IMDb for True Detective and the Max streaming site where you can stream it on. But that's, my take on the series, and, you know, it's a good season, although, again, I don't like that they treated this as a female version of the first season. I'm like, we didn't need that. Just give us a good season. Don't tease us with all the connections to the first season. You created great characters, and then you're like, well, we're going to focus on something else. Not everything was done, so you're leaving it. You're leaving people hanging. We want to know more about this. No, you're not going to know more. You'll know this and that, but it's like, dude, come on, don't do that. That is stupid. Don't do that to people. So, you know, uh, so yeah, sorry this video is so long. If I rambled, whatever, I am very sorry. But, I hope you like this. Again, you can find links below. IMDb for True Detective and the Max streaming service to view it on. Um, Also, my Twitter, my TwitX, my PayPal, my Amazon links are below as well. So, um, I love you guys. Subscribe here. Leave a like on the video. Leave a comment, but be nice. That's all I ask. I love you guys, and the coffee is still good. That's all I'm saying. And it is coffee with good water. Really. You fuck with the water, you fuck with my coffee, we got a problem. You hear that?